Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. Why
Freaks
are
me
you
that
shaking your head?
because when you hit record on Zoom, a weird computer lady voice goes, "You're being recorded."
Yeah.
Now, it's
even though I know it,
so you'd be aware.
yeah, and I know it's here, but still, it freaks me out every time because I'm getting in the zone of we're getting recorded. We're going to start talking about dumb shit, and then that lady comes on and just throws me out of my game.
I mean, do we have to say dumb?
Yes,
And also, hold on real quick. Does the computer lady say anything else to you, Chad? Like, you should kill these people? Because if it does, ignore it. Can I actually say something?
Can I finish?
Can I finish?
Timely humor.
Actually, this is a horrible tragedy
Yeah.
that I'm going to actually bring up.
You talking about the episode?
No.
Okay.
So I don't know if y'all saw on the news, there was a lady that killed her 3-year-old daughter.
Oh my
Horrible
What
tragedy.
the
Good
fuck are you
Lord,
bringing that up
James.
for?
Horrible tragedy. Have y'all actually heard the story?
No,
Who told her
I
story?
tried to, honest to God, ignore most of that or not put it in my head.
Oh,
Yes.
I wish I didn't see it. But here's the thing.
Thank you for sharing it on a
Here's
comedy show.
I'm not making fun. It's horrible tragedy. That being said, she claims that SpongeBob SquarePants appeared to her and told her to do it. Now, here's my caveat to that, gentlemen, because the first thought that went through my head was, what would you do? Or what would you do if SpongeBob told you to do it? Because there's not much on my list. Like, I actually thought, and I told somebody, if SpongeBob SquarePants appeared to me right now and said, "Hey, James, you should order a pizza. I'm a fat guy. I like pizza. I enjoy ordering food. I enjoy eating food." But even I would be like, "Hold on, SpongeBob, who are you to tell me what to do?"
There is
Sorry.
a million things you could have started out with, Jane. A million.
Sorry, it was in my head. If Joe wants to edit it
The
out,
end of
and
this
censor me-
story, what we got was James doesn't want to be told what to do. And what was going through my mind when James got to talking about how he didn't want to be told what to do, I was like, is SpongeBob going to pay for the fucking pizza?
And to our regular
Oh my God,
audio-
if he is, maybe that's it. Okay, so Joe's threshold is if SpongeBob offers up money, Joe will pay attention.
I mean, I'm not.
He's not made of stone.
He's a fucking sponge.
And by the way, to our audio listeners, please check out the YouTube video when this gets posted and look at the sheer utter horror that is in Joe's and Mai's face as James just leads us down this road.
God. Anyway, so our topic today is that James got a new microphone, which we're all happy about. And so we didn't want to do a depressing episode. Gentlemen, I don't know if you've looked at our numbers about who died in 2022, but
The kids don't like to listen to who died.
Burning up the charts, not at all. It did us no favors, gentlemen.
So do you think what the fans want is us to just list off people still alive?
Maybe we were more successful with those long ass year episodes than we were about who damn
Is
died.
Bruce Blanche still alive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Bruce Blanche. Oh, anybody else still alive?
No. So
No?
what we
Oh my God,
decided to
what
talk about, what we decided, because we didn't get to talk about Meatloaf in that episode, is that the gentleman, I can't remember which one of you did, said, "Hey, why don't we talk about," was that James?
That was James.
Congratulations, James. So it's like, why don't we talk about rock stars who became actors? Some of them fairly successful.
Oh, I went with musicians, not just rock stars. We'll keep
Well,
it
I just like saying rock stars, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't-
musician.
I was
And
gonna say,
actually, one of
technically-
mine's not a rock star either.
Technically, none of mine are.
Oh, well,
Oh, is this going to be your entire thing about Pavarotti's appearances in other movies?
Oh my
Chad?
God, no.
how many movies did Barry Manilow do?
Because body on a treadmill, I'm not going nowhere. Slim chance I will.
Did he say Audiana Treadmill? Is that a new pop singer?
Pavarotti on a treadmill.
Oh,
I'm
by
not
the way,
going nowhere.
Should
Slim
we get
chance.
off should we go ahead and get the two gold standards out of the way? Because I don't think either one of them are going to be on any of our lists.
well,
Well, I
I,
mean,
don't know who's the gold standard. Elvis?
No,
Elvis.
well, I actually don't consider Elvis the gold standard anymore, gentlemen.
What?
Because none of his movies,
Elvis
most
was
of
a
his movies were-
musician that
Oh
did
man,
a ton of
Elvis.
movies.
Elvis
know.
and Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two that came
Frank
to my
Sinatra.
mind.
No, but
Those are the two.
you're not thinking more modern, guys. We got to talk about Mark Wahlberg and Will Smith.
No, those were on my list. So no, absolutely, those are the
I-
modern
I-
ones.
I guess Mark Wahlberg's a movie star. I know he is.
I was going to say, how could you not consider him?
He just
movie
isn't to me.
I know, Joe.
By the way, if you're listening, Mark Wahlberg, I'm shocked as hell.
Yeah.
I prefer Donnie. As far as acting goes.
Okay. No, and let's be honest, and this is the honest God truth. Mark Wahlberg has been in a lot of good films, a lot of them good.
Some of them good.
Some of them good. Some of his performances are
okay.
Good. Of all of Mark Wahlberg's movie career, none of them matched to the sheer performance that was Donnie Wahlberg in the 5 to 10 minutes he was in The Sixth Sense.
Yep. Yeah.
That's all
or what little he was in the Saw movies. I know he's a better actor.
Or hold on, let me shiver. Ransom.
Well, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's just a better actor. He's a good. Donnie Wahlberg could have been a really good character actor.
Yeah, he could have been. I mean, he still is. He's on TV.
Yeah, he's in Blue Bloods, right?
Yes.
So he's had a hit show for 10, 15 years now. Good for him.
But yeah, in terms of, I really think Will Smith has surpassed Elvis, guys. In terms of quality of movies,
Will Smith is an actor who happened to be a musician first. Will Smith always wanted to be a movie star, and that's how he planned his life, and that's how he planned it. Even as a child, he wanted to be a movie star. I don't see him as like Elvis, who just was who was a pop star, one of the biggest pop stars of all time, who just did movies and did just James Wright is a shit ton of them. Same thing with, we forget that Sinatra was a pop star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In his time.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was no one bigger than Sinatra.
But talking about Mark Wahlberg, because I agree, Chad. But Mark Wahlberg, to me, when he's most successful at believable, are movies like Ted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
the other guys. Yeah.
Yeah. He plays
he's comedy. He's better at comedy.
His comedy chops are way, way higher than, and not so that he doesn't have a few dramas and serious films that, I mean, shout out to Max Strawn, Boogie Nights and stuff like that. Not saying those don't count. And obviously, but I think you see he's in The Departed.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Well, I know
he's the worst part about The Departed.
I don't think he's the worst part of The Departed, but I think it's a comedic role.
Yeah.
It's a funny role. He's a funny guy in that.
He's just always angry.
He's a funny guy. Funny guy. How, Joe?
I don't. Funny that is in Mark Wahlberg. It's the most movie star to be of all time, or one of. I don't know. I know it's just a personal preference or taste.
No, but
clearly he's more. Who gives a shit what I think? But yeah, to me the gold standard is Frank Sinatra and Elvis.
Yeah, see, I would agree with Frank Sinatra just because of the quality of his work. Elvis, I have a hard time calling him a gold standard because it's not his fault. It's, that most people know about. It's that he had shit movies. None of those movies are outwardly entertaining.
There's some good ones.
They're just fun for the niche of it.
No, there's some good ones. There's a few. There's Jailhouse Rock.
I'm not saying that everyone's bad. I'm just saying that there's a hand out of his entire catalog.
There's a few movies he didn't get to make that would have made him a bigger movie star. Bye Bye Birdie, a couple of others that would have made him a bigger movie star. If that makes sense.
But that's what I'm talking about the gold standard is his volume doesn't match Will Smith's because Will Smith
is louder.
You have bad movies.
Will Smith is an actor who used rap and being a musician to become a star.
I don't know.
I mean, he talked about it.
I know, but at the same time, when he started acting, he couldn't act. He was like, there was the whole thing when he did Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like he was literally had to memorize the script, and he was. You can watch early episodes and see him repeating the lines of the other people because that's the only way he could trigger it. He had to learn to become a real actor. I know he wanted to be an actor. And, you can see that in his music because I Think I Can Beat Mike Tyson, Nightmare on Elm Street. He's not rapping. He's acting through the whole song.
And I never think of Will Smith as
side of that, though.
I know he is.
Well, and I
don't ever think of it that way.
That was one of the first cassette tapes I ever owned. It was Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. He's the DJ and I'm the rapper.
Yep.
Boom.
The flip side of that, by the way, though, gentlemen, is you can have this debate over Elvis versus Will Smith. I don't think either one of them could do what the other did.
No.
Can you picture clam bake with Will Smith?
No.
Harem
Honestly,
Scarab would have some scary parts.
Kissing cousins with Will Smith. Can you
Yeah.
picture it?
No,
That being said, could you also picture Elvis in Ali? Well, okay, that one worked out for a couple different
well,
reasons.
there's a couple of them he couldn't have done. King Richard probably wouldn't have worked either.
But seriously,
Elvis
I think,
Presley and Men in Black.
I mean, actually, and that's you made me think of the line of from Men in Black. Elvis didn't die. He just went back home to his planet.
Yeah.
Well, okay, real quick before we move on to our list, then
Yeah.
what about shit? Have Frank's name. So sad.
Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra. So what about Frank? Frank did some Oscar-winning films. Frank's in From Here to Eternity.
Well, that's what I just said. Yeah, you could
in a movie.
consider Sinatra gold standard because he actually has a lot. His work is.
I think he lucked out on not lucked out.
I was going to say lucked out. Yeah, somebody got their kneecaps broken if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, he got some plum rolls.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay. We could do the history of Sinatra. We'd be here for the next 3 weeks.
but I'd be fascinated though, because Sinatra is one of those, even the silly Sinatra films, and I don't consider Ocean's 11. And if you've never seen the original Ocean's 11, I've said this before, go watch it. It's not Ocean's 11 with George Clooney. It's not a remake per se. But any movie he did was stupid fun. Even Robin and the Seven Hoods, it ain't a great film, but I have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, who wants to go first? I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do, because in my mind it was rock stars, and then the first one my first one that it came to my mind who gave me one of my favorite performances ever in a movie that I never knew he was capable of. It's not the first time I ever saw him act, but Dwight Yoakam in Sling Blade. Did I steal somebody's?
No.
I did a list because I knew people were.
Yeah, he's on my list too. But I was like, I've got some backups. So yeah, Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam and Sling Blade. Now hold on, let me finish. For the first time I saw him,
Can I finish?
Well, no, but this one's important to me. So the first time I saw him is in a movie. Oh God, Jesus! John Dahl's Red Rock West, which is a Nicolas Cage film. That's a really good movie that's been completely forgotten about. It actually premiered on HBO. It did, and I actually got to watch it. I was lucky enough when I was younger. I was too young to watch it. Didn't get it. I'd like to rewatch it now. And Dwight Yoakam's the truck driver who picks him up. And I thought, oh man, that's not some good line delivery. So when I finally got the chance, and this is really hard. I was just talking about Scream earlier. It's really hard. And the same thing we've talked about The Matrix. It's hard if you weren't there in 1999 to explain just how different that was. But to see Sling Blade in the theater in 93, which I was lucky enough to do. I went and saw it with my mom, and my mom took me. You just didn't see any of that shit coming, right? You didn't know who Billy Bob was. Even if you'd seen him and stuff, you didn't know who the hell he was.
Yeah, so just real quick before you go into that, I knew Billy Bob Thornton because, as I've mentioned before, one of my biggest crushes was Marky Post, and I loved Hearts of Fire. So I was like, oh, Billy Bob from Hearts of Fire, and then I saw this.
And it's not him. It's not him. It's a completely different character. And it's shot in Arkansas, of his home state. And he has said before that of all the true artists out there, the one that's closest to him in the fact that they have the same tastes and the same outlook and whatnot was Dwight Yoakam. And Dwight Yoakam plays one of the most fearsome, awful villains in cinema history.
Yes.
Just because he's not awful, he's awful. If that makes sense to you all. It's not like he's out murdering people. He's just a piece of shit. And the reason why I think I can't hate him, and it may be how you all feel too, is because I know that son of a bitch. I've met that son of a bitch growing up in rural communities. That son of a bitch is populated all over. We see that son of a bitch now on the news, storming capitals. That's that son of a bitch. I know I keep saying son of a bitch, but that's what that son of a bitch is. And we see that son of a bitch all over, who thinks so highly of himself, who thinks he's right, who knows nothing, or as I always say, my least favorite trait in any human being is willful ignorance. The idea that I am going to be stupid.
Yeah.
And that son of a bitch is that. And he's awful and he's so good to hate. And it's one of the best performances of any movie.
Yeah.
Actually, that whole movie's is nothing but riddled with great performances, but I had no idea Dwight Yoakam had it in him.
Yeah, that scene where they're sitting around and they had just like been playing guitar and they're all just sitting around, Billy Bob sitting on the couch and and he just suddenly just loses it.
Yes.
And just starts throwing everybody out, kicking everybody out, yelling and screaming. Man, watching that movie at that time, it was chilling.
Yeah.
And
because, did you know him? Do you know what I mean? You knew those people like him.
Yeah.
Hair trigger temper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Willfully ignorant. I may be putting too much. I may be projecting too much, but that's how good Dwight Yoakam is in that movie. He's perfectly cast. He's good in some other things that happen later.
Yeah, I mean,
never ever Doyle Hargraves. It's Doyle Hargraves, right?
Yep, Doyle Hargraves.
He will never. He can't ever find something that was just so. And Dwight's from Kentucky. I would imagine he knew that son of a bitch too. I don't think that's Dwight Yoakam.
To move on just from Sling Blade, his performance in Panic Room was chilling too. It's just dark,
silent. He's so silent in that movie, so quiet.
Yeah,
and that's what I wanted to say. You all are talking about dramas and things like that. He also has a lot of comedy chops. He's in Wedding Crashers. He's also Doc Miles in Crank.
Crank. He's hilarious in Crank.
That's what I mean. That's Dwight Yoakam. And by the way, oddly enough, before we ever decided to do this episode, for some reason I've been on a Dwight Yoakam music kick. His music holds up.
It does. It does. I'm not even a country fan, and I don't like Dwight.
No.
In fact, Dwight Yoakam is one of those people I want to see before one of us kicks off.
Yeah. And quite frankly, the way I'm living, it's
probably going to be us, right? We got to go. Dwight's going to keep performing.
But I mean, so he's been in such a variety of stuff, like the roles that he chooses. He was in, the FX show Wilfred. I mean, just his willingness to take on all these different roles and do these different things.
Yeah, he was Mark Frankenstein in Axe Cop. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't got to see it yet. It was on my to-do list, and then everything happened that was terrible in the world. But he's in Cry Macho with Clint Eastwood, and that was 2021. So I mean, he's very much still out there. He's still doing these things, and
he's the warden in Logan Lucky, which was he's great in that too.
Which, by the way,
he was in Logan Lucky. That's another movie that's really good that works. It shouldn't.
Right.
Well, and that's what Logan Lucky. I don't know why it didn't get more of a exposure than it did. Like when it was coming out, I was like, I got to see that movie, and then less people, I guess, saw it than maybe needed to. But anyway, I absolutely agree. I mean, his roles are all over the place. He's in the Three Burials film that you all love so much.
Oh yeah. Well, he's the one having the affair. The Three Burials of Malchiades. I can never say it. It's a wonderful Tommy Lee Jones picture. But he's the one border cop.
The Three Barrels of Eric Estrada.
Who can't get it up, who's having an affair with the ladies, the husband and the wife at the diner.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next? Let's keep on rolling.
James, you care if I piggyback?
No, go ahead.
Because
I do. My back cares.
Mine's kind of in the same line of Dwight Yoakam. So when I
did he say back hairs?
Those two. They can only lift so much, gentlemen.
When I saw this actor, I didn't know he was a musician. I didn't know he started out as a musician. My friend in high school, pretty much the only friend I had, actually introduced me to his music. And I'm like, holy shit, what is this? I'm talking about Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Tom Waits was on my list.
Oh my God. Tom Waits in what was the Coen Brothers? The Ballad of
Buster Scruggs.
Oh God, Tom Waits is so good in that.
He is. And I hate to say this. So technically my introduction to Tom Waits as an actor was him as Renfield in Dracula.
Yeah, I had no idea that guy was a singer.
I had no idea.
But I was too young to know who Tom Waits was.
And I didn't know who he was either. And I didn't really know who Tom Waits was until several years later when he was in Mystery Men.
I don't remember him from that. I remember him from other things.
You don't remember him as Mystery Men?
I'm
As
not a
Doc
huge
Heller?
Mystery Men. I mean, I would bring out Seven Psychopaths. I would bring this.
We're building up to that, gentlemen. I'm talking
the one
about,
I love.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Tom Waits. Period. Actually, oddly enough, I was listening. You all have nailed what I've been listening to lately. I went from Dwight Yoakam last night, sitting in my office.
Is Brian Combs influencing you? You guys are going back and forth, and there's some sort of budding romance there. Now you're
no. I must admit though, his so if you don't know, for those listening, that one show with Brian Combs, you can listen to it now online, and he does a theme every week. And he did heartbreak songs, and I had to check it out because I had to make sure the greatest heartbreak song of all time was on there.
Fat Bottom Girls?
No, he stopped loving her
today. That is the best. Yeah.
Nothing beats that. And it, by the way, is on there. And then there were some other ones, and I was listening to them. And after I got done slitting my wrist so I could see color again, I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't heard in a while. One of my favorite Tom Waits song doesn't get a lot of attention because everybody's like, well, sing Matilda. And I'm like, no. God's Away on Business may be one of my all-time favorite Tom Waits songs.
I need to go listen to that.
And if you don't just listen to it, Joe, make sure you get the official video because it's basically Tom Waits evidently in an abandoned house with ostriches.
Of course it is.
And the entire time I'm like, no, this makes perfect sense. I'm down. Let's watch it. Let's go, Tom. You punch that ostrich.
But yeah, and that's the problem. Tom Waits as an actor is just Tom Waits. That's, I mean, I want to go in a little bit in order. So Renfield in Dracula, man, it's a great performance. He is so creepy as Renfield. And I loved it. But then you get Mystery Men a few years later. And that was my introduction. I didn't realize Tom Waits was Renfield until after Mystery Men. And I'm like, who is this guy who hangs out in nursing homes just to pick up chicks? And, he's an inventor. And then that's when my friend introduced me to his music. And I'm like, holy God, this man is who he acts in movies. But then, and it just goes on and on. He was in the Two Jakes. He was in the Fisher Kings as an uncredited role as a disabled veteran. And then Coffee and Cigarettes, where he played Shocker, Tom.
He played the cigarette.
Yeah, and then of course we mentioned Seven Psychopaths. Him as a Zachariah, as the hitman, as the psychopath.
He's also in Domino with Mickey Rourke, and I just would have loved to hear their conversation. Offset, can you imagine?
No,
Tom Waits.
I mean, it would be fantastic.
Just to be on a fly on that wall. Can you imagine what you'd be thinking? Probably, God, I hope there's no spiders around here. But outside of that.
Yeah, I got to see The Old Man and the Gun. I still haven't seen him in that either. I'm dying to see that.
I've got it DVR and still haven't watched it.
But even lesser films like The Dead Don't Die.
Winners. I like Dead Don't Die.
Man,
I actually really like The Dead Don't Die.
It's rough. Have
either of y'all seen The Licorice Pizza yet?
No,
I added the dub, but he's obviously in that as well. But I've heard good things about it.
I know our friend Glenn rated it as one of his top 10 movies of 2021. So
it's got a great cast. I mean, just looking at the cast, and you got Tom Waits and Sean Penn.
But I mean,
anyway,
yeah. But him as the prospector in The Ballad of Buster Scruggs is just phenomenal. And this is a man who. Does he even sing anymore? Does he go out and perform? I don't think he does.
I think so.
He does?
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those you just have to respect the man and the artist. It's just amazing what he's done with his career. James, what do you got?
I'm going to go extremely, well, not extremely anymore. I'm getting old. But the one that I was going to talk about, just as far as is recent, matter of fact, has a movie, may still be in theaters now, but again, I wanted to mention her because she has done so many different roles. It's Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I think I did not know Gaga. I thought Gaga was funny. I finally, a few years ago, because I'm not a huge pop music fan, but I finally saw her on a few shows, and I thought, oh Jesus, she's got a wickedly good sense of humor. And I enjoyed A Star Is Born more than I ever thought I could or should or would with her in it. I mean, that movie's been told often, but she's just really good in it. There's a couple of things that, but I don't know. She gives Bradley Cooper a run for his money in that movie. Did you guys ever see it?
I have not.
I have not.
It's good. It's good. I mean, the reason it works is because Bradley Cooper obviously knows how to direct actors as an actor, and him and Sam Elliott, they just all just kill it.
Well, but so the other thing about, again, her roles is the variety of them. She's in Machete Kills as
briefly, yeah.
But she's also in Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. Again,
cameo.
I
want to see the new the
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci. Yeah.
House of Gucci, yeah, which is I've heard her role there is phenomenal. Like she does. I haven't got to see it yet.
I will say this, hearing her talk about that role is nauseating.
But one of the things that, I mean, I guess her first role was in an episode of The Sopranos, technically, but
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, she's a lady at a pool. There you go. But the other side of it is, the other reason I like her as an actress is kind of the reason that I always say I like Nicolas Cage. If she's interested in the role, she takes it. She was in American Horror Story as the Countess for a season.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I completely forgot about that. I watched the whole season. I think I watched her learn how to act midway through, and then she got really good.
But also, her role and her willingness to do like cameos is so great, because I love the fact that if she's interested in something, she pursues it. She did the Muppets special for television. She's in Muppets Most Wanted, her and Tony Bennett. And they both deliver the lines, with one-liner cameos, and that's their lyric, as well as new stars doing one-liner cameos, and it cuts away from them. So there's just something about that I appreciate, and I do think Lady Gaga is obviously still doing music, but I think she's immensely talented, musically and otherwise. We're seeing her come into acting. And do phenomenal stuff, but she's still doing what she wants to do. She's still pursuing roles, and doing Muppets. And if you saw the TV special of her and Tony Bennett is, battling Alzheimer's. I believe it's Alzheimer's. And they were worried that he wasn't going to be able to do it. And I read the entire backstory about it. She even was worried that he wouldn't remember her, but they said there was a neurologist that commented on this article that I read, where he said, well, Tony Bennett, when he's performing, it's what he's been doing so long, it's deeply embedded. It's when he's not performing that he can't function. And her
did the same thing with what's his face, right?
Glenn Campbell.
If they put Glenn on the stage, he knew what to do.
Yeah, and that's because he's one of Lady Gaga's comments in this article was she was very worried that he wanted to go out first and introduce her, and he said she said off stage he always just called me honey, and I said, when he goes out to introduce me, he may just say, here's honey, and he said nope. As soon as he hit that stage, it was like, my good friend Lady Gaga, and she said I started to cry because he was battling so much. And anyway, I think about that. I think about everything that she's kind of brought to the table. And as somebody that's a musician still, but is also acting, we couldn't do this episode, to my point of view, without at least mentioning Lady Gaga, because
I agree.
Just a phenomenal talent.
Well,
however you felt about her movie. Plus, you've got to admit she has a good poker face.
Which, by the way, getting back to mentioning things, what we didn't talk about when we were talking about, this is my second one.
What we didn't talk about when we were talking about.
Well, what we didn't talk about, you're talking about gold standard, Chad. Actually, we really need to reach back. It's not even Elvis and it's not even Frank Sinatra. The original crooner crossover is Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby, actually, yeah, he was
actually the original.
Yep.
I mean, he did White Christmas, Going My Way. He's the original one who was the successful singer who broke into film. So I just wanted to mention it and just kind of give that. By the way, you were talking about it's Elvis and Sinatra. I was like, no. How many people remember? I guess people remember Bing. But remember White Christmas. White Christmas.
But in all fairness,
White Christmas and the Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
But Bing was unique too because he was a crooner.
Yeah, he's a crooner.
And I don't think there's too many other crooners, like crooners that became musicians or became
movie stars.
Movie stars.
I mean, he and Bob Hope, they invented the road movie.
Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra.
I don't consider them crooners.
It's a little different. Yeah, I get what James is saying. It's more of a pop thing. I don't know the definitions of this. Someone who knew more about music probably could whoop all three of our asses on this one. But I really need to give a shout out to Bing Crosby. Next.
Well, you're next, Joe.
That was my next.
Okay, then I'm going.
That's what I said. Next.
Okie dokie. We're doing crooners. So let me talk about my crooner, Ice-T.
I don't think you know what crooning is, but I do agree.
He's a good actor.
Yeah. Ice-T, man. I liked his music. I was a big hip hop fan when I was a kid, and I could not get my parents to buy me an Ice-T cassette tape for the life of me. But what I
can't imagine why. How did they feel about those police?
The cop killer. Oh man. But no, what I could get them to do is rent movies with Ice-T in them. So my introduction to Ice-T as an actor was Ricochet, which I still like to this day. It's all about he is an evil son of a bitch in that movie, and it just he kind of gets stuck into that role. New Jack City, you see a little bit of different of that, where he's like actually trying to be a good cop. But oh wait, no, I said Ricochet. I meant to say Trespass.
I was a little confused. I was like, Ricochet. That's the one with Lithgow.
Lithgow, yeah. No, I meant to say Trespass. Trespass, where it's these firefighters who found this loot and they're in a building and they're being held hostage, basically because Ice-T and his gang wants to get in there and get the money. Ice-T's great in that movie. I don't know why I said Ricochet. I apologize. It was just on the list of movies that he's in. But then, he's also in Tank Girl, Surviving the Game, him in Surviving the Game. If anybody could beat Jean-Claude Van Damme in the
Surviving the Game.
Yeah. I actually prefer Surviving the Game. No, that's a lie. I don't know.
It's about Jean-Claude Van Damme and Surviving the Game.
Hard Target. It's the same movie. Yeah. It's the same game. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the same movie.
Oh, well, it's all Most Dangerous Game. It's all based on the Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah. But it's between those two and The Pest, man. I just don't know which one's the best.
Yes, it's
The Pest. Joe said The Pest. Everybody heard it.
No, I don't like John Leguizamo, but for some odd reason, I've actually never seen The Pest. I just never could. The idea of it, I'd rather watch my eyes bleed. But I do like Surviving the Game. That's actually one of those. That's one of those movies that's also star-studded.
Yeah, and it is, and it just
that's like there's a couple of Academy Award winners in that.
Yeah, picture. And it just kind of came and went.
Yeah, no one talks about that one.
No, but no, and his career goes on and on and on, and I could be sitting here talking about it forever because the man has over, let's see, 177 acting credits to his, and those are mostly, some of those are music videos that
I was about to say, how long has he been on Law and Order?
Oh man, so I don't know how long. It says here 22 years, but I don't know if he was on there for the full 22 years. But yeah, so you got to give Ice-T credit as an actor. Most people, honestly, I don't know if some people realize that he was a rapper at some point.
Oh, I bet old white people watching Law and Order have no idea that's the same guy that did Cop Killer. Yeah. No,
nobody does.
No, I agree with you 100% on that bet that they have no clue most of the time.
You think shouldn't they do one episode of Law and Order that has like a meta moment where he tells some kids to turn that down? It's disrespectful.
But Ice-T, as like I said, as tough as nails, whenever he's on the screen, he's going to be a badass in it. It's great. James.
You know what? I'm going to continue my trend of highlighting women, you sexist pigs.
Is it Madonna? Because I was about to say, if you're going to talk about Gaga, you kind of have to say Madonna.
Please not Whitney Houston.
No. I'm going to go with the real OG.
Queen Latifah?
No. She was working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living.
Judy Garland.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton. So 9 to 5, been a musical, all of that stuff.
Hold on. So I'm like everyone else. Well, probably not like everyone else. I like Dolly as well. has Dolly ever acted?
I don't think she actually beat up what's his name.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a diss. She may very well be like Elvis in this respect.
No, and
well, same as Ice-T. Ice-T has the one.
I think Ice-T acts a little bit more than Dolly.
Well, yeah.
So
I'll give
I'm
you
not
that
knocking
one.
Dolly. Dolly's
No.
very smart for not acting.
And also,
Right, guys?
Dolly Parton
Dolly needs to be Dolly.
Dolly Parton is a humanitarian. I don't know if anybody else saw this. Everybody that works at Dollywood now gets free
Couldn't
tuition.
avoid it. You can't avoid it. It's everywhere.
But and it should. I would rather that be everywhere than the news story that I started the broadcast.
Oh, and
with.
it brings us back.
I was
Anyway,
gonna say, is would you consider Steel Magnolias Dolly being Dolly?
I haven't watched it in a long time. Probably, but that's probably still her best performance. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's a really talented lady. She's a wonderful singer. She is an entertainer.
Yes.
well,
She
and
is
that's
an
what I want to
entertainer
talk
in
about.
all aspects. You could stick. Dolly doesn't have to sing. You could take Dolly Parton on a stage and have her talk to 5,000 people, and I guarantee they'd be lined up just to buy the tickets to listen to her talk.
I'd be lined up to buy the ticket.
Agreed,
Yeah.
gentlemen? That lady
Yeah.
is an entertainer. That lady can draw a crowd.
Well, and so just some of the things that 9 to 5 was her first major credit, her first film. And once again, by the way, 9 to 5, God, what a cast. I actually posted and I tagged Dolly Parton and the other actresses involved, Lily Tomlin, on Twitter under the Bonehead account. And I said, listen, you all need to do working 9 to 5 virtually. Film it in your homes, do it over Zoom, put it out. I guarantee you'll raise $100,000 for charity.
Just pick your charity. You're all still alive.
Yeah. God. And by the way, I'd stream it. Make it $4 or $5 to stream it. Yeah, I'll be there next. Yeah, I'd do it. That being said, what I wanted to point out though is there is somebody that I know who's one of their top 10 favorite films is her role opposite Sylvester Stallone in Rhinestone.
Why?
I don't know why it's their favorite film. It doesn't matter. But if you've never seen Rhinestone, now for some reason, Sylvester Stallone has repeatedly said if he could find every copy of this film and destroy it, he would. I'm glad that
he can't now.
What now?
He can't now.
But Rhinestone. So anybody want to give by the way, directed by
Bob Clark.
It's in the Ethernet.
Bob Clark directed Rhinestone.
Bob Clark really did?
Yeah. You didn't know that, Chad?
No.
But basically, the one-line plot summary is a country music star, that would be
Maybe
Dolly,
that and Loose Cannons, Chad.
must turn an obnoxious New York cabbie, that would be Stallone, into a singer in order to win a bet. It's basically the My Fair Lady of Dolly Parton movies.
Hey, do you remember?
Oh, shoot. Stupid phone went off. Sorry.
I remember Pepperidge Farms.
Well, it was Glenn. My phone went. Sure, you heard it, and I was like, "What is that?" And one of those Facebook stupid alert things. Fucking Glenn.
But anyway, so that being said, there's one film in Dolly's repertoire that doesn't get much attention, but I remember my mom absolutely loved it.
Is this the one with James Woods?
It is. Nobody talks about that anymore. And you would think in this age of everybody getting upset about Joe Rogan's and whatnot, that a film like Straight Talk would get more attention. But by the way, not just James Woods, Michael Madsen is in that. Spalding Gray, God, Spalding Gray. Jeff Garland is in it. I mean,
why the hell is she sitting on a pumpkin in the poster for Straight Talk? Does anybody know?
Because it's supposed to be a parallel to Cinderella. She goes to Chicago and becomes a big DJ. Oh, Terry Hatcher's in it too. I forgot.
Oh, Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chad, you should own this. But no, it's one that doesn't get talked about a lot. But Dolly Parton did a lot of different movies. Unlikely Angel is another one. And Joe is right. I mean, you're never going to sit and be like, I can't believe that was Dolly Parton. Like, it's never.
Oh, God. Did you really just bring up Unlikely Angel, you son of a bitch?
Listen, He was sitting there trying to figure out which one of his coat of many colors he wanted to wear that day.
But Joe is absolutely right. Dolly Parton never plays anybody. Like, you're never going to walk into
I didn't mean it as an insult.
No.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience. I do not mean it as an insult. She's a star. She's an entertainer. She should not be playing other people.
And that's it. But that's what I mean. You're never going to go and see a movie with Dolly Parton and halfway through it be like, Dolly, in this movie, Dolly plays a drug addict that repeatedly kicks a dog. That movie doesn't exist.
It never will exist.
It never will, because nobody would believe it. You'd be like, now that's a double. Dolly didn't kick that. Was that Lady Gaga being Dolly?
All right, gentlemen, who's next?
But
You
yeah,
are.
Dolly Parton.
I am.
Yeah.
What? I'm going to go another country music one, and I can't believe you guys haven't brought up Chris Christopherson yet.
I had other actors. I have other ones that I enjoyed more.
I'll be honest. I like Chris Christopherson. And I love the fact that, is it Hank Williams Jr. that calls him out and says, and Chris has moved out to Hollywood to be moved out to LA, and all my rowdy friends have rowdied on or have settled on down.
No, I don't know. But I like Chris Christopherson. He's in one of my favorite Peck and Paul films, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. It's an uneven movie, but it is so damn. There's scenes in it that are some of The Wild Bunch is probably Peck and Paul's best film, but there's scenes in it that are better than anything else he ever did, if that makes sense. Like Slim Pickens dying beside the river with Bob Dylan's music playing. But that being said, Chris Christopherson was a country music artist, and he was actually a country music writer. He's a songwriter. He wrote Me and Bobby McGee, which was made famous by Janis Joplin. And Johnny Cash, right, was the one who finally got Johnny Cash covered one of his songs on Johnny Cash's show, because Chris Christopherson couldn't make it anywhere. He'd been in the military, couldn't get out, couldn't get anybody to pay attention to any of these songs. And he finally, if I'm not making this up, and I think it was on Drunk History where I learned this, he actually landed a helicopter on Johnny Cash's place to give him one of those songs. And I think it was Sunday Morning Coming Down. Mm-hmm. Am I saying it right? And that was the one. Yep. And as I woke up and about getting high, and I think it was on CBS. CBS was like, well, you can't put that part on it. It's
a sound as a sleepy little Sunday sidewalk. Sunday morning coming down.
Yeah, right. So that's written by Chris Christopherson. He was a brilliant songwriter.
And he performed it later as well. I mean,
and he performed a lot.
Cash did it, but
yeah, and he performed a lot of these songs later. And then he became a movie star with A Star Is Born. Back to what we were going back with, another person who sang and became a movie star called Barbra Streisand. So do you see where I was kind of connecting the two? Is that I don't know how we do this and not talk about Chris Christopherson, because he was pretty prevalent. I mean, he was a pop star and a movie star in the 70s, and then probably resurrected again in one of the 90s with Blade. And he was a bunch of other stuff again. And there's some, I'm trying to think. I mean, good Lord, he's in Pee-wee's Big Top
Pee-wee.
I can't stand
And also he fought Steven Seagal.
But gentlemen, you also have to remember something else. He's also bloody brilliant. He was a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah, he's smart.
Went to Oxford.
Yeah.
And while at Oxford, he also boxed and played rugby. I mean,
but did he do them well? That's the big question.
I think he's a very talented man who is, once again, who turned songwriting into singing, even though he was not the world's best singer, but people enjoyed his music, and then turned that into being a movie star, and then making another 30 years out of it. I mean, anybody who can do that, and we're still talking about him today. I don't know. I'm always been a Chris Christopherson fan.
Well, and by the way, going back to your story, about how he did he had originally met June Carter.
Okay. How was I wrong about all that?
No, you're not wrong. I was about to say, let me flesh out the story a little bit more.
Johnny Knoxville plays Johnny Cash in this, if you ever get a chance to watch the Drunk History.
He met June Carter and he gave her a demo tape.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'll give this to Johnny to listen to. Well, Johnny Cash got it. But Johnny Cash, being Johnny Cash, had a stack of demo tapes. As a matter of fact, there's you can watch it free on YouTube. There's George Jones. It's called George Jones's Golden Hits, and he does all his number one hits up to I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair, but he tells stories in between each one. And it's if you were hoping that George Jones wrote all his own songs, I've got bad news for you. And he actually talks about that. He goes, I would go in, my agent would call me and be like, they got some songs for you. And all these people would have recorded their demo so I could just hear it and hear how the song played. And he talks about, when he did He Stopped Loving Her Today. He said, I listened to it. And he said, I was missing something. And he said, so we went back and we added the narration of, we all wondered if she would. Anyway, so Johnny Cash had a stack of those, and he took it from June Carter and went, okay, and put it in the stack. Well, Johnny Cash during this time period was not known for his attention to detail. In other words, he did not get to that stack quickly enough.
I can't imagine. Was it the drugs? Was it the alcohol?
The period when he lived in a cave? Who knows, Joe? But after he didn't get a response back, he waited a few weeks after giving Carter his tapes. Christopherson landed a helicopter in Cash's front yards to, quote, gain his full attention.
Yep. Can you imagine being that ballsy? And by the way, he's poor. His family doesn't want anything to do with him. He has a bad backstory.
But Christopherson later said it was still kind of an invasion of privacy that I wouldn't recommend anybody try. To be honest, I don't think he was there. John had a pretty creative memory, but upon hearing Sunday Morning Coming Down, Cash decided to record it, and that year Christopherson won Songwriter of the Year.
Yeah, so I don't think I got to finish the story on CBS when he performed it live. He was told to cut the line about the waking up in the joint. And he basically did it live as a fuck you to CBS.
I don't know why that show's not still on. Well, he's dead.
All right. Who's next? Chad.
Right. So I've talked about the uniqueness that is Tom Waits, the toughness as is Ice-T. But I really want to talk about an artist who not only is a great musician, but is an extremely versatile actor as well. I know him as Mos Def, but he now goes by, I'm going to butcher his name and I apologize. Yasin Bey, I think is how you pronounce the name that he goes by now. I have been a fan of Mos Def for years. And then he transitioned into acting, and every single thing he does, he puts his heart and soul into it. And I just love every performance he does. From, when he was in, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where he played Ford Perfect.
You devil. Ford Prefect.
That's what I said. I said perfect, didn't I? Ford Prefect. He was great in that. And then right after that, he's in 16 Blocks as Eddie Bunker. But no, even before all of that, he was in Monsters Ball, for God's sake, and Bamboozled, Islands of the Dead. Every single one of these roles he was great in. And then I also want to, his comedic timing and Be Kind Rewind with Jack Black, it was just phenomenal. And then you get the serious side of Mos Def, or Yasin Bey, when he plays the detective in The Woodsman, which was a tough role to take. And it's
a depressing movie. It's
a very depressing movie, but him as the detective who's monitoring Kevin Bacon's character and just grilling him in his apartment. I don't think anybody could have pulled that off other than Mos Def. And, it just he was in Dexter as Brother Sam. It's just, the man has a huge swath, a collection of movies on top of his music that he did. I do want to give a shout out to his role as Gangstalicious in the Boondocks. That was another great voice acting job that he did in the Boondocks. If you haven't seen the Boondocks, you need to see that just for Gangstalicious. So yeah, I just when I was trying to come up with my list, Mos Def was at the top, just because he doesn't have the career that Will Smith or Mark Wahlberg has, but I feel like the roles he picks have more substance. So I think he deserves a shout out. James.
I'm shocked and dismayed at both of you that you have picked musicians, but you have left out what is arguably, to my childhood and probably to yours, one of the most important musicians turned actors of all time.
If we're talking about one movie,
I don't know what one movie you're talking about. I'm talking about the entire gestalt of his work. Only one musician went from performing music to guest starring on Scooby-Doo and then spinning that into an entire career working with the likes of Adam Sandler, Burt Reynolds, and a host of other people. I refer you to pretty much the Sir Laurence Olivier of country musicians turned actors, Jerry MF Reid.
That's good. Yeah, you're right. He was not on my list. He should be.
Why wasn't he on my list either? Son of a
Jerry
know.
Reid. I mean, and by the way,
I thought he was going to say Weird Al for a little while. I was like, you do not get to use Weird Al just for UHF.
No, I'm not, because Jerry Reid. And by the way, has either of you ever seen WW and the Dixie Dance Kings? Because I've got to see
with Burt Reynolds. It's really good.
No, I've never seen it.
Burt Reynolds
it's not on DVD.
He's the band manager. Yeah, it's not bad. Or the agent. It's pretty good, guys.
And speaking of musicians that became actors, I mean, it stars Don Williams, Mel Tillis. I mean, it's got a ton of musicians in it.
Yeah, that's a Burt Reynolds movie I never hear about.
No, and I said, I literally, when I was doing research, I was like, I got to talk about Jerry Reid. And I was like, oh, this was his first major role. And I was like, if it's available on DVD, I'll buy it. It's not. You can buy the on Amazon right now. You can buy the novelization or the novel that it's based on.
That's sad. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. It has to be streaming somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to find it somewhere. But I mean, if it's one of those Warner Archives,
if Rhinestone is streaming, so is that.
But then he did WW. He started with the new Scooby-Doo movies where he played himself.
I don't
Joe,
remember.
you want to do the song excerpt?
Pretty Mary Sunshine, she's all right with me. Pretty Mary Sunshine. I have no idea. Something. I love that. Fucking love Pretty Mary Sunshine.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, by the way, you can find it. You can download that song. It's on his collection. But he does that. Then 3 years later, he does WW and the Dixie Dance Kings, working with Burt Reynolds, and then he's in Gator, also with Burt Reynolds.
Would he have a career if it wasn't for Burt Reynolds? That's the big question.
Well, Scooby-Doo, I mean, honestly,
a lot of other people you could probably say that about.
No, I know, but I'm just, I get that, but I'm just saying, do we have Jerry Reid?
He's a talented actor. I think he was slightly more versatile than some of the other people we've talked about on the list.
Yeah.
I think he could do comedy. He was actually played a hitman in, what's that movie? The Survivalist, Robin Williams and Walter Matthau. That's a movie that no one ever remembers. He plays the hitman in that.
Yeah, I forgot he was the hitman in the
whatever it's called. Is it Survivalist or something like that?
Or is it Survivors? I can't remember. I'm looking it up.
No, but it's a movie that no one's completely forgot about. But Jerry Reid's in it, and he's the bad guy. Jerry Reid's the bad guy in Gator.
Well, and he's Peter Fonda and Jerry Reid made Highballing together, where it's a trucking movie.
I've never actually seen that. I need to see that.
Oh, we all should. But it's Peter Fonda, Jerry Reid.
I want to watch Skidoo again. Let's go highballing.
Skidoo. By the way, one of the best things ever was when you're
it's the Survivors.
Why is this movie called Skidoo? And then immediately when we were watching the movie, she just began singing Skidoo. I'm like, God, we couldn't have done that any better.
Oh, good stuff.
But anyway, yeah, no, Jerry Reid. And the thing about Jerry Reid was he did largely do comedies, though. I mean, it always kind of a comedic role. But I was saying about it the other day, I think he brings so much to the Waterboy as the villain. I mean, he really does the entire way he played that role. I don't think you could cast anybody better. It's much like Shooter McGavin for Happy Gilmore. Waterboy doesn't work as well without Jerry Reid. Like I love Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken couldn't have played that villainous coach as well as Jerry Reid did because he played it.
He played it as Jerry Reid.
Jerry Reid as an asshole. By the way, WW and the Dixie Dance Kings is directed by John G. Avildsen, who gave us Rocky a year later. I didn't know he directed it. I'm sorry, I learn something new every day.
No, like I said, I want to see it. So if anybody knows where I can find it,
YouTube.
Oh, is it?
There's some sort of version maybe.
Anyway,
I can't find it anywhere else. I was like, surely it's streaming. And actually, I was looking at box office. Like, actually, it made some money. And then it's got Ned Beatty. Yeah. It's got Art Carney in it, Chad.
Huh?
I forgot that they were in it. You love Art Carney. I saw it as a kid. It's not a bad movie.
But anyway, no. So Jerry Reid, I mean, I don't think you can talk about people that transition to movies because Jerry Reid was in the second biggest movie next to Star Wars, as we have mentioned before. I mean, his imprint on my childhood is huge.
All right.
I love Smoking the Bandit.
Let's wrap it up. I think we've all had three. You guys got any notable mentions?
I've got a couple. Justin Timberlake. I think you have to mention Justin Timberlake.
I think Justin Timberlake is a talented actor. Yeah.
He's been canceled.
Why did he get canceled?
He just for the stuff with Britney Spears and Janet Jackson.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that being said,
he dated Britney.
He's also.
And by the way, he's been canceled. I can't wait to do my honorable mention about talking about people who haven't been canceled, who probably should have been canceled.
I didn't. Has he really been canceled though?
He's not really been canceled, but he has a lot of controversy surrounding him right now.
All right,
James.
who else?
But so Justin Timberlake, I mean, if you don't think, because I pause sometimes and think, well, has he really done that much? But
he's in Black Snake Moan.
He's in Trolls.
And then that movie with Amanda Seyfried.
And Inside Llewellyn Davis.
Yeah.
And Time.
And nobody's going to mention Southland Tales.
No, I'm going to mention actually one that I think he actually does a pretty good job in and actually made me realize how funny he could be. I know it wasn't a big hit and we're not supposed to talk about The Love Guru, but he was pretty good as being a stupid villain in The Love Guru.
Yeah. Who's your other one, dude?
I mean,
while you're stuttering, Eminem.
No, Chad took Ice T. I think we need to talk about Ice Cube.
Ice Cube has a career once again, like Dolly, of playing himself.
Yeah.
And I said too,
smartly playing himself.
I'm going to throw out one more, and you all mentioned it earlier because I do think if I don't mention her, my kids will break my legs. I think Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah has.
Queen Latifah is actually a talented actress.
That's what I mean. Queen Latifah from Chicago to The Equalizer.
Yeah. I've never watched The Equalizer, but Queen Latifah.
Set it off too. I mean,
yeah. Actually, do you know she now has in her contract that because of Set It Off, that she's not allowed to die in her acting roles, and she literally put it out there. I read this online; it could be false, but that she put it out there because she wanted to be around for sequels.
Well, that makes
Which
sense.
I was like, you know what? I mean, honestly, if I get cast in something and I have enough clout to say, no, you can't kill me because I want to come back for part 2, I'd put it in there too. But my kids absolutely love her playing the Equalizer. You know, when I tell them, I'm like, you used to be an old British man. They don't care. And they've obviously never seen the Denzel movies. But I will admit, as watching it with them, her playing the Equalizer, it's enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it may not be reinventing the wheel, but Queen Latifah can act. She brings something to every role she does. So I had to mention her as well.
So I got to bring up Gene Simmons.
That's who I was going to bring up, Chad.
Yeah, I honestly thought he might have been in your top 3.
The problem is as much as I like Gene and as much I never think of Gene as the most talented actor, but he's good and stuff. Speaking of Scooby-Doo, Gene's been on Scooby a couple of times.
Yeah.
So
I liked, and then
Runaway.
one of Joe's and mine's guilty pleasure is Runaway.
He's a good villain in Runaway. He says nothing.
Yeah, he's a great in that. Him as Joe Adler in Extract, one of Mike Judd's forgotten films. He's the new guy. He's the Reverend in that. So he's had a lot of roles, but he mostly just plays himself.
Yeah.
So there's not a really wide, versatile Gene Simmons catalog of films. And of course, James's favorite, Trick or Treat, which he's brought up in previous episodes.
I've still never seen it. I've still never seen it.
Neither have I.
I mean, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, folks, but to take the idea of playing a record backwards and mix it with Evil Dead, which is more or less what it tries to do, it's an enjoyable, forgettable 90 minutes. By the way, we also, because I just realized if we don't mention one more person, we're getting killed.
Who?
David Bowie. Labyrinth and The Last Temptation of Christ and
The Hunger.
I
mean,
the man that fell to earth. Yeah.
David Bowie was phenomenal too.
Damn. Yeah, I agree.
And there's a lot of these. The more I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think we mentioned the ones that had probably long careers, acting careers.
Yeah, I mean, because if you mentioned Weird Al,
Mhm.
Any flash in the pan ones? I would probably say off the top of my head, Courtney Love,
Eminem. Courtney Love is a good actress.
Sid and Nancy and Man on the Moon, but I mean, she hasn't been overly active recently, to my knowledge, unless there's films I don't know about.
Yeah.
Eminem. And by the way, the fact that we at one point were going to get Eminem in a Have Gun Will Travel would have been fascinating to me.
We were also going to get Eminem in Wanted, but then he backed out of that one.
But I mean, in all fairness, if you're a fan of Eminem, you know that there was a time when he was trying to get clean and all that stuff, and then one of his close friends and also a member of D12 got killed, and so that took him out of the game for a while.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. If you want to send hate mail, as always, send it to Chad.
And by the way, once again, just before we close, this topic did come about because of Meatloaf, and we lost Meatloaf. Meatloaf from Rocky Horror Picture Show to Fight Club to Black Dog to Roadie. I mean, Meatloaf
was one of those people that was an actor who could sing.
Yeah. Meatloaf, and you can tell that because his musical performances were theatric.
Yeah.
But so this topic came to my mind because of Meatloaf. So I wanted to close by saying, we did lose Meatloaf, and I've watched Rocky Horror Picture Show a billion times.
I loved Meatloaf. I'm not. Bad Out of Hell. The actual song "Bad Out of Hell," as much as there's so many good songs on it, the actual title track "Bad Out of Hell" is one of my favorite songs of all time. I listen to it several times a year. I never got to meet him. I was going to. It was almost. He was almost at Scarefest a couple of times. I know his daughter lives in Lexington, but it just didn't happen. Friends of mine met him. Politics aside, I was a huge admirer.
Well, and so oddly enough, some of his more obscure songs like "Rock and Roll Dreams," God, I love that stuff. I mean, I love and as an actor, when he was in something, it was memorable.
Yeah,
he made it. I mean, and I've made this comment before. He's in Spice World, and he's a part of him and Roger Moore are the only lines I remember from Spice World. My college roommate watched it once a week. Take that as you will.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Bonehead.